She want that old thing back. Turn me up from headphones. Turn me up. Yeah. I share. Peace to the gods, I share. Peace to the earth, I share. Peace king. Peace to the kings, I share. Peace queen. Peace to the queens, I share. Yeah, it's peace king when you see me in the street. Proper greeting. To not acknowledge a light being is not the season. No ego, clearly the leader of the people. Vision like Calico, this for my amigos. Leaning on that window of that Rego. I'm praying that one day he gonna be free though. They ran up in the crib while he's peeking through the peephole. Never thought it would be divine evil. Creeping with that heat close. They say I walk round like I got an S on my chest. Now that's a gold-plated no baguettes on my chest. Life a movie, words got special effects. A old school G used to bump Rex and effects. And the Fugees, youngins know that I'm next. I pump knowledge to the streets so they showing respect. Cause I did it without the fraudulent stories about me blowing a tech. I let the Most High order my steps. Feel me? You better know what time it is, man. It's the age of Aquarius. Each one teach one. And that's what it is. I share. Peace to the gods, I share. Peace to the earth, I share. Peace king. Peace to the kings, I share. Peace queen. Peace to the queens, I share. The quarterback need protection from the lineman for the yards. More makers in alignment with the stars. Too many MCs lining your bars. And you wonder why they ain't buying your cars. Like, oh, keep selling cause he won't keep selling. Or I'm hopefully selling even more.
Oh, come on in, family. Come on in, fams. Pull up, put your nines up. Put your nines up and let me know where you from. Meanwhile, I'll get the frequency right. Feel the vibe. Yep. Salam alaikum, shalom. Imhotep. Uncle Ma'at. Grand rising to the royal family. Yup. Grand rising to the lighthouse, to all of Hamshanu. We're going to be talking about the crucifix today. Yup. Let's go. One more. Yep. Yeah. Let's get the energy right. Boy. Get this energy right. Let me see who my first nine is today. Let me hop in here and see what's going on these feeds. You know, see who out here repping. We are simultaneously streaming on Facebook and YouTube, so go ahead and hit that little bell, that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Go ahead and click follow if you are on Facebook, and you'll get the updates as to when we're going to be going on. All right. So first and foremost, let me shout out my first nine. First one on board is Regina White out of Grambling, Louisiana, holding it down. So show her some damn respect. She put up her triple nines. Dua. Regina. LaVie Bell out of the DMV. You know what I'm saying? Long time supporter. I appreciate you for your triple nines. Dua, thank you for the energy. Adrian Barden out of New York. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Adrian. Adrian be traveling too. You know what I'm saying? Don't get it twisted. She be around. I be seeing her. Shout out to Adrian Barden. Frankie Davis is in the building. Uncle Ma'at, thank you for the divine masculine energy, Frankie. I love you. Taish Curry. Uncle Ma'at to you, Queen. Dua, I love you. Lisa G out of Tampa, out of Florida, is in the building. I got your text too, Lisa. I'm gonna hit you up afterwards. Shout out to Lisa G. If you don't know, Lisa G runs Lisa's Fragrance and such, that one-stop shop for all your natural goods and services. Shout out to Terry Phillips, who's in the building out of North Carolina, South Carolina. If you're in North Carolina or South Carolina and you'd like to hook up with the Lighthouse near you, we do have a Lighthouse North Carolina, South Carolina group. Boab Athkuda Ray out of B-More. Shout out to you. Haven't been down to Baltimore. I might have to take that trip. Not since I've been conscious, you know what I'm saying? I need to go down into Baltimore, you know. I know some woke people down there. And last but not least, Angel Thornton is in the building. Shout out to Angel Thornton. Thank you, Angel, for being here. Thank you for your love, for your support, okay? And holding the brother down this morning, all right? Today, we're going to be talking about the crucifix and ancient symbolism. Okay, in this walk, okay, in this journey of connecting with your ancestors, there's some basics that you have to know in order to be able to grasp the concept of symbolism and the things that are going on around you that are blatant. Some things are hidden, yes. There are some things where you have to peel back the layers in order to really understand and come into a full fruition of consciousness to be able to grasp what has happened according to history, right? But then there are other things that are just right in your face, pretty blatant, you know, and you can grasp some of these things by simply learning the language of your ancestors, by learning the Medu Neter. One of the books that I'm going to recommend, aside from the one that I've given to everybody, which is Let the Ancestors Speak, another book that I recommend getting is this one right here, How to Read Egyptian Hieroglyphics. Okay, it's a good beginner's beginner's book. I actually got this from the Museum of Natural History right here in New York, but you can order it online. This one is written by Mark Collier and Bill Manley. Okay, but if you want to get it from a more African standpoint, then you want to get Let the Ancestors Speak, which I gave to everybody in the Lighthouse, you know, earlier on. If you still want to get that book, ask around. There's pretty much everybody in the Lighthouse that was here for a significant amount of time should have that somewhere in the email. I forwarded it to everybody. So you're going to want Let the Ancestors Speak so that you can understand the language of your ancestors, first and foremost, because you're going to start to see that because we spoke in symbols, we spoke in using pictures, that a lot of the things that you look at today might be represented differently than how we did it. But when you understand that we originated language, we originated writings, then you understand that the whole development of all civilizations, of all society who do read and write, took their basis and their foundations and their infrastructure of creating their letters and things of that nature from directly out of Kemet. Okay, and one of them is the crucifix, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. We know the story when we deal with the crucifix of Jesus Christ and what he represented. Most people, we look at the cross and we say, yeah, Jesus died on the cross, right? And he rose 3 days later, right? That's the story. He was divine because of that, right? But what you have to remember is that dying and resurrecting was something that had already been done by your African ancestors. Like, now, if this was the first time that you're hearing of somebody dying and coming back to life, it would be an awesome feat. But we've heard this story already before. Thousands of years prior to Jesus Christ, we had Asar, who was killed by his brother and was resurrected by the divine feminine energy of Het Heru, who, after he died, he was cut into 14 pieces, and she actually put his body pieces back together. Okay? So we already know now that thousands of years prior, there was clearly some sort of divine entity that was able to die and resurrect. But in the African story, we know that it was just a allegorical story. It was not meant to be taken literally. You understand? Jesus comes along and takes this story and references it as a literal event, that he died on the cross and rose 3 days later. Correct me when I'm wrong. Okay? So now when we look at this story, it says when he died on the cross. And this is the symbol that they wear around their neck, the cross. Okay? This is something that you see fairly common, not even just, in the Greek culture, but it's also crossed over and spilled over into our culture as well. Everybody has a cross. When you buy a chain, they buy a cross. They buy a cross. Right? There's a lot of symbols that came out of Kemet that you should know. Here's a few of them here that you should look at and you should study. You should look up these symbols and figure out what they are, what they represent on multiple layers, because they represent a lot of things. Okay, we weren't just linear people. But in any case, the cross, you don't really see in here unless you get really in depth with the dialect of your ancestors. And then that's when the cross starts popping up. The cross was actually acquired by us prior to the Greeks and the Latins. We already used the cross, and the cross was represented in the term of the word goodness, beauty, or truth, as you can see here in the Medu Neter. We already had that, okay? And then when you go to the Micmac meaning, it was represented as holy, okay? So this is where this actual symbol comes from. And it was not a symbol as you see today that represents pretty much death is what it represents, but it was a symbol of goodness, beauty, and truth, okay? Nowadays, when you wear a cross, it's a symbol represented for Jesus who died on the cross. There was nothing good about the cross when we look at this story, unless you've been brainwashed to think that being put on a cross is a good thing. The way they served it to you is that he sacrificed his life. No, bro. He got his ass beat. He died. Okay, just like anybody else that was there during those times. And the thing that they won't tell you is that the crucifix is not the way it looked according to how they wear it around their neck. During those times, if you do a little history, nobody was crucified on a cross. They were actually crucified on what we call a towel. It's a towel. And a towel is more like a Greek letter T. Okay? So if you wanted to really depict what, if he had lived, what he would have died on, it would not have been that. Okay? If he ever existed at all, he would have died on something that looks like this on the left-hand side. The genuine crucifix is a capital letter T and not a lower letter T. Do you understand? So here's how they switch things on you in a twinkle of an eye. But because we haven't studied it and we haven't looked at it up, we haven't looked it up at all. We don't know what he really died on. He died. If he had died, he would have died on one of these. Okay? The symbol that they're using, right, is the cross is a direct carbon copy of the symbol from out of Egypt, which is called the Nefer. It's called the Nefer. And the Nefer was a symbol of what some say might have been your spine, right, and the bottom part of your torso, right? It was a symbol of good, And a lot of times you would see that symbol, and this is gonna look familiar to you. You would see that symbol on the front of a building, and they would call it the house of goodness. This is 2,000 years before any Jesus existed, before any deity, any sun god, any person who was considered to be divine. These symbols already existed, and all they're doing is mimicking it, and they're twisting the story around. But because you've never seen these symbols before. You've never seen it in the Medu Neter represented. You can't see the bamboozlement of what they're doing to your culture and how they raping it and trying to put their faces on it. You see? Because Jesus was none other than the Son, which we've already spoken about. Okay, here you can take a look at this picture of the Last Supper, and you'll see Jesus, who represented as the Son. There's a reason why, and you look in this picture, according to Leonardo da Vinci, there's a reason why each individual that you see surrounding Jesus is in groups of three. It's because they represent the constellations of the sky. Okay, the 12 disciples represents the constellations that the sun moves in as it passes along around the sky. Okay, so if you look at it and you really dig deep into what's going on, you realize that, well, hell, if Jesus is just an allegorical character represented as the Son, you could put anybody in this picture and it will work. You can make Jesus black. You can make Jesus white. Hell, you could put literally anybody in this photo and it will make sense. Do you understand? Because it was an allegorical, symbolic representation of the Son and its movement in the cosmos. His entire life, the entire story in the biblical text is telling you about seasons. It's telling you about nothing but seasons. Okay? And Christ, which was represented of Pisces, which is the fish symbol. This is why they call him why he was the fisher of men. Okay? He represents the time and period where the sun in Egypt could disappear for a certain amount of time. For a matter of 3 days, the sun would die. And then when it resurrected on December 22nd, 23rd, between December 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, you would find it by looking for the southern crux in the sky. Okay? And this is where they get their symbol from for the crux. For the cross, I should say. The cross is represented a representative of the stars in alignment of the southern crux, so that you could locate the Son of God. You understand? So moving on from there, you could tell in all of their pictures and everything that they represent that cross is a star. Just look at it. Just look in the middle. That's not an actual cross that somebody would have died on during those times. If you did any research, you would know it didn't look like that. They're giving you a depiction of a star. Do you see that? That's not a cross, family. That's not a crucifix. This and this is not the same thing. This and this is not the same thing. One of these things, they don't belong here. Huh? That, family, is a star. The southern crux, to be exact, the alignment of 4 stars coming to a point. Okay? So this is where your whole Jesus story comes from. It's symbolic. You know, they also needed to put a sign above his head. So that's one of the reasons why they utilize that as well, because they got to put a sign on his head to say, "Here lies the King of Jews." Huh? So all of that is just to corroborate their story. You wouldn't have been able to put no sign above anybody's head on the real crucifixes that they use. He wasn't the first one to be crucified. That was a regular event for any person who was committing a crime. He was just in the lineup. You see? Why? That's why they show you 3 crosses, because he wasn't the only one being crucified. That wasn't the first time that happened. And he wasn't the first time. That wasn't the first time anybody was resurrected. And he wasn't the first Christ, because we had that written in the Medu Neter as well. This is why you got to learn your alphabet. So when you start looking at the Medu Neter, you'll see that this says the word Christ in it. And the word Christ was a symbol for those who were anointed. That's the word Christ meant. It meant anointed. And it was usually represented when we're dealing with bodies, with dead bodies, mummies, the sahuifying. You understand? So these symbols that they took, remember, they didn't even have a letter system before they came into Kemet. So everything that they took is a spinoff directly out of Kemet. This is why you don't hear them talking about the pyramids, and they don't talk about all these different things in the biblical text, because it will give them away. This is the cross was not a symbol of the rebirth. The rebirth was the keper, or the dung beetle. It's the symbol that you see around my neck. The kepera'u, right? The keper in the middle, which is a symbol of resurrection. Okay? And when you see the 3 points on the bottom, that represents multiplicity, right? And then you have it on top of the neb. The neb, rather. So it's keperah. Keperah, here's Ra, right? So it's neb keperah. Neb kepera'u, right? U is when you have the multiple lines on the bottom. That means that's plural. Okay, so it's kepera'u, resurrecting, Lord of the resurrection, Lord of rebirth, right? When you come into this knowledge, there's a rebirth that happens, right? Which is why this symbol chose me before I even knew what it meant. Do you understand? Because it was letting me know that I was about to go into a whole new life, a whole new rebirth, right? A whole new dimension. You understand? I was being resurrected. If you look at me 10 years ago, I'm nothing like I was 10 years ago. It's a whole different Jamal. So this is what happens when you come into consciousness. And your ancestors knew about these symbols. They represented these symbols. The reason why they use this symbol, the dung beetle, to represent rebirth, right, is because the dung beetle is significant in Africa. It would take its eggs and it would hide its eggs in its dung, in cow dung. You know what I'm saying? And it would ball it up, and it would dig a hole in the ground and hide its eggs inside this ball. So, because it knew that animals wouldn't be eating dung, the animals won't eat it. So they would take their eggs and hide it in it. So when it was time for them to move the eggs, they would dig it up out the ground, much like the way the sun rises, right, from out of the ground. That's how they represented the sun. The sun would be the cow dung. You see? So the dung beetle would dig up its eggs from out of the ground and roll it across the desert, just like the way the sun moves across the sky. So the dung beetle became the symbol of rebirth, because the sun would rebirth on December 22nd, 23rd. It would go below the horizon to where you could barely see it, right? Or it would actually just stay in place, like it would be dead, and then it would move again, and it would appear at the southern crux. So this is where you get the symbol of the cross from. It had nothing to do with an actual human being dying on a crucifix. That was all made up. It was all an allegorical story to represent a symbolic story to represent the sun dying, or the sun doing funny things around December 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. And it still does these things to today. You know what I'm saying? This is why you'll never learn astrology in school. This is why you'll never learn astronomy in school. They will not give you the study of the stars and show you how this stuff really moves on a regular basis. They won't go into depth on these things. You understand? The most they give you is the North Pole is there. There's magnetism and there's gravity. They're not going to teach you all the rotational stars, because then the nativity story, all these different stories that are symbolic representations of what the sun actually does, now no longer has the power that they used to have. The rebirth story no longer has a power that it used to have, when you find out that there was already entities that were already rebirthing, dying, resurrecting tens of thousands of years before Christianity ever existed. You understand? When you deal with the Virgin Mary, you're just dealing with the constellation of Virgo. Okay? So that's where they get the whole Holy Trinity. The reason why is because Virgo was that last constellation of the sun before you achieve balance and move into the constellation of Libra. Libra, or Ma'at, is balance. So that's the reset. You understand? So when you see that the sun is moving into the constellation of Virgo, then you need to know that we're about to move into a space where the universe is about to balance itself out with the Libra constellation. You dig what I'm saying? It's all a story about the cosmos, family. So don't lose sight of that. So when you see the cross, which represents actually the symbol of what we call good, right? The sun rising is a good thing, right? We need the sun. And when you see it represented in Kemet on the buildings, right, like this, that little like square incomplete rectangle or whatever is per, which means house. Per, right? That means house. So here you have house of goodness, right? And see, anytime something is built on a lie, they have to have the truth in there somewhere. This is why you hear them say all the time, God, right, or the enter, God is good. He's good all the time. All the time, God is good, right? Because their actual symbol that they're using literally means the word good. You understand? The truth is there. It's all there right in front of your face. But because we don't read the Medunetter, we don't read hieroglyphics or even have an interest in it, we have no idea that it's right in front of our faces. This is your stolen legacy. This is the language and the sacred tones that your ancestors used to speak. That your ancestors spoke. You see? You have to start speaking and uttering the sacred tones of your ancestors so you can understand and have an African mindset. You know what I'm saying? So when you say Pernefer, you say the house of goodness, you know what that means. When you walk past a building and you see it on the building, you know what you're looking at. You see? They've taken I'm surprised that y'all still walking around here with crucifixes on, because what good here in America has a crucifix done for you from its inception? What good has been done unto you wearing the symbol of death? That's like your cousin gets shot dead in the street and you walk around with a chain with the pistol around your neck. Huh? That's like your daddy, your mother, all your ancestors that you know of being killed by this particular system, this particular symbol and system, and you walk around with it around your neck. Have some sense of dignity. Level up, yo. Level up. It's time. It's time to put it down, because you can't unsee what you just saw. You can't unhear what you just heard. Now that you know the truth, it's time for you to upgrade and understand that the people of Kemet, your African ancestors, walked around with the symbol of life all day long. The symbol of life and resurrection. Because remember, the Ankh was not just a symbol of life, because we didn't even essentially believe in life and death. We believed that everything was a one unit. Life and death were synonymous. You understand? We believed in duality. You understand? So when you see that Ankh is a symbol, it's actually an acronym, right? The Ankh is a symbol of Amon, Amonet, Nun, Nonet, Kuk, Koket, Het, Het, Het. And these are all the Ennead, or what some might call the Agduad or whatever, but the Ennead, the primordial deities, the primordial energies of the universe. Water, invisibility, infinity, and darkness. Okay? So this is, when you walk around with an Ankh, you're basically representing all of the forces of the universe. You see? And life and death is in that symbol. You see? The cross is essentially an isolated symbol of nothing but death. That's what it is. It's death. in every shape, form, or fashion. But because the people who celebrate it have lost the culture, this is all they have to cling on to. So they have to be brain smashed in order to believe that it's a symbol of life when it's not. We already had the language laid down pat. We already had the language of the ancestors, the sacred tones that represented death, life. We already had a civilization built. We already had millions of years of human existence. Which God got them to that point? To where y'all could even come in and start tampering with the language that we already had. Somebody kept those individuals. Somebody created those individuals. Some entity kept those individuals alive and eating and evolving. You telling me that God didn't show up until 2,000 years ago? You sound ridiculous. Because you still haven't built anything bigger or better than what they've done. You still haven't figured out how they did what they've done. But yet you serve the Almighty God with all the knowledge. You serve the Most High with the infinite amount of knowledge, space, and time. But you can't figure that out. These are physical. These aren't even spiritual concepts we're touching on right now. These are physical things. You can't even build a pyramid. In 2018, you haven't figured it out yet. How they did it with primitive tools. They usurped your entire existence. Stolen legacy. Stolen legacy. They reset the dates. So now it's only 2018, and we know that we've been here by human record of what we found of things written down and written in stone for at least 6,000 to 7,000 plus years. Of having the knowledge of reading and writing before anything was destroyed before that. Right? Not to mention the bone fragments that we found that are hundreds of thousands of years old, which I can attest to. When you've seen certain things, such as this, you can no longer play games with people. At some point, you got to say, you know what? It's time to upgrade. And don't you dare, when I tell you to upgrade, don't you dare do one of these. Don't play yourself and do one of those. Because I've seen that around too. For the sake of the innocent, I'm not going to put their faces up here. But I've seen people, there's so many people who don't know what the symbols are that they're wearing. They just wear them because they think that it's cool. And that's what the cross has become. It's become a symbolism of being cool. Yeah, you know, it's hard out here. You know what I'm saying? I got to rock my cross so the Lord could, you know what I'm saying, be over my head. You know what I'm saying? Hold me down, Jesus. You know what I'm saying? That's how we move out here in the hood. You know what I'm saying? We walk around, you know what I'm saying? I got my crosses around my neck. And the rappers made it cool. You know what I'm saying? Because they were still at, you know, they just starting to delve into consciousness and spiritualism. So the first thing that they delve into is what was easy, which is the Christ consciousness, which is to try to wear a cross. But they didn't realize that it already existed well before Jesus. So the only concept that they had of a rebirth was a cross. But once we re-Africanize the story and put back the things that they took out at the Council of Nicaea, when we put back the African in it, right, then we start seeing, oh shoot, that cross ain't what you think it is. It ain't had nothing to do with it. We already had that written in stone. It already had a definition. They trying to flip it on your ass. You see? It's important that you recognize symbols. All of these symbols, because they're around. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. You know what I'm saying? You see the kepper on the top right? But also take a look. If you see the ka with the two hands raised. You see that? The ka is indicative of what you see in a football game when you get a touchdown. When you reach the destination. And now you have to flip to the other side and kick the ball to the other side. What do they do when they do a touchdown? Touchdown. Right? It's a touchdown. Ka. Right? The entire game of football is based on life. It's based on balances, death, and rebirth. That's what it's based on, the entire game of football. You gotta take this ball, or which would be the sun, representative of the sun, and you gotta move it across this perilous plain, or what we might call the desert. You have to move it across the plain, and when you get to its destination, when you touch down on the other side, ka, or spirit, right? It moves to that plane. Then you have to kick it to the other side and do it in the other direction. You understand? At halftime, they switch sides, right? See, all of these things are taken from there. So when you recognize these symbols and you see the symbols that they're throwing up, now everything in life becomes different because you realize what they're doing. It's right in your face. But because you don't know the language, it doesn't affect you. It's going over your head. You understand? So it's time for us to start learning our language so that we can start recognizing these things that are around us all the time, every day. You see? So when you see the symbol of the throne, right? And you see a woman with the throne on top of her head, that tells you something. If you don't know that that's a symbol of the throne, that's a symbol of the throne. You understand? So when you see, like if you see here, Het Haru sitting on the throne, that symbol is the same symbol that you would see Het Haru here behind Asar, wearing the throne on top of her head. Her and Nephthys, right? Het Haru is right next to Nephthys, and she has a symbol of the throne. So when you see that throne, that should tell you something about how powerful the divine feminine energy is. You understand? The fact that the divine feminine energy is backing up Asar in that photo tells you that women were an important factor. The divine feminine energy in general was an important factor during those times. So you can't separate it and just say, yeah, they only believe that the king was God. No, because here's the king right here, but somebody's backing the king up. There was no kingdom that was served with just a king on it. You know what I'm saying? A woman was just some flimsy thing walking around who was getting slapped around like you see in Greek culture when she disrespected and they were slapped. No, they held their women in high regard. You know what I'm saying? Here you see the men and women together ruling. You know? It's just a different outlook on how you see life now when you understand the language. So I charge you today to get these books that I recommend. Let the Ancestors Speak and this one here. You know, there's more in-depth books that you can get, that I'll talk about when we grow a little bit more, and actually in more advanced classes of Medu Neter. I introduce more books to you, but these are good starter kit books for people that are trying to learn. Let the Ancestors Speak, and this one here. Okay, how to read Egyptian hieroglyphics. They call it hieroglyphics. We call it Medu Neter. You have to learn. You have to know the names so that you'll be able to do the proper research. But in any case, learn symbolism, because it will be a barrier for you if you don't learn the language and you think that it's something that you don't have to learn and you can just take verbatim from somebody else. Because there are things that you're going to see in it. It's going to trigger parts of your brain that other people may not see. There are people that that could be studying Medu Neter for centuries that won't pick up on certain things that you may pick up on, depending upon where you come from and the DNA that you're unlocking, the piece of the puzzle that you bring to consciousness. You see, everybody is necessary. Everybody is the same. There are things that I'll pick up that somebody else won't pick up, and vice versa. There are things that other people will pick up that I won't pick up. So that's why it's important that you learn the symbols, at least the basic symbols, like the ones that I threw on the screen here. These are some of the basic ones that you should be able to pick out what they mean. You see? And maybe I'll go over some of these in depth and show you how they were used in the Medu Neter for future cases. You know what I'm saying? Because see, you have the Ka and you also have the Ba. Some people get the Ka and the Ba confused. The Ba is the individual spirit. The Ka is the spirit that we all share. It's that universal energy that we all share. The Ba is your piece of the pie. So you learning the language is what will unlock your Ba. It will unlock your individualism as to how you're able to decipher the Medu Neter. Because everybody wants to try and put the Medu Neter in one box and just say this is the only way that it was represented, but we weren't a linear people. We had different layers to our language, and our layers represented multiple things on multiple different planes, depending upon your level of consciousness. There was a language for the people, that only the lay person can read, and there was a language for the kings and the queens. The Medu Neter ain't for everybody. There's certain parts of the Medu Neter that was only meant for the lay person or the village people and even the peasants. And it was labeled. And then there was another language that was only meant for the kings and the queens, the royal Nasu. You understand? So the more you get into the language, you'll realize like, wow, I'm reading the language that was only meant for the divine. Those that were chosen to go into the afterlife, right? And their bodies prepared properly for the event. Like there's levels to this, you know. So I challenge you, learn some of these symbols so that you can recognize what's going on here. It's going to help you tremendously when you're being challenged, when they're trying to tell you, you know, what this symbol means and that symbol means, when you're being challenged and you know its origin, and you can pull up the artifacts and show the artifacts, because that's one thing they won't be able to do. They won't be able to pull up artifacts and prove anything that they're talking about. No matter what religion it is, it will die when you say those two words, prove it. All you have to do is say prove it, and watch it dismantle, watch it crumble, because its foundation is based on your principles, your African spirituality, and your sacred sciences. Every single religion. So, with that being said, let's pay some bills.
Imagine not needing to rely on certain man-made drugs for the rest of your life. 9 Essential brings you the best organic turmeric powder. Turmeric is an amazing herb which has anti-inflammatory functions due to its bioactive compounds. Our product range is a safe and easy-to-consume turmeric powder that is based off ancient remedies that have worked for years. Turmeric reduces the pain that people with arthritis feel in their joints. It protects the liver from being damaged. It reduces the risk of cancer. It protects against heart disease. Visit www.9essential.com to learn more about our products.
One of the main causes of high blood pressure is your body's allergic reaction to sodium or salt. Over time, sodium builds up in the body and becomes toxic. The veins and arteries begin to tighten, raising blood pressure to potentially dangerous levels. Also, stress is a leading cause of high blood pressure as well. Job-related stress, financial and relationship stress wreak havoc on our bodies. Olive leaf extract helps to naturally lower blood pressure without all the negative side effects often found in pharmaceutical drugs. Take olive leaf extract daily to help lower blood pressure, regulate blood sugar, remove parasites, and eliminate negative bacteria. For more information, go to myoliveleaf.biz or call 612-567-3263.
Our next event, family, is we're going to be doing a bus tour. We're paying homage to our ancestors from Rochester to Auburn. This is the next lecture that we got going on for the Lighthouse. And we're going to be paying homage to Frederick Douglass, Native American Chief Logan, Dr. Charles T. Lunsford, and Harriet Tubman. And this going down on August the 4th, so get ready for that. If you want to come join the rest of your family, we're taking a bus tour. It's going to be amazing. It's only $35, and that's going to include the tour, the lecture, and the food. So that's a nice little package for you guys, and you can purchase it online at the address below. Okay, and we are looking for vendors. All vendors are welcome if you would like to set up your table for the people. We also got those Lighthouse reunion teas. If you don't know, the Lighthouse Family Reunion is coming up. You want to be a part of this situation. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a lituation because everybody's coming in. And they're all coming to New York. If you've never been to New York, now's the time to come on out because you're going to have a lot of your family there with you. You know what I'm saying? Hold you down. We're going to be doing we're going to have a lot of fun. Let's just put it this way. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a crazy weekend. Okay? So if you want to get your Lighthouse Reunion t-shirt, it's donations of $37. Okay? That's the official t-shirt. Okay? And the PayPal's on the bottom of the screen there. Okay? And the Lighthouse Family Reunion is coming up as well. Okay? I just said that, but the actual reunion is August the 25th. Okay? And it's going to be in Prospect Park. It's going to be in Brooklyn. And it's $30 for a couple, $20 for adults, $10 for the ages of 13 to 18, and $5 for 12 and under. So we're going to have a DJ there. We're going to have some food. It's just going to be really, really nice. So it's a time for us to really just kick back. You know what I'm saying? Not doing no work. We just going to be out loving on each other, doing what we do. Okay, so it's going to be a great, great time. So come on out to that and be a part of that. The next thing that we got going on after that is probably without a doubt, the biggest event of the year. It's the Lighthouse DFW annual royalty gala, and that's going down in Dallas, Texas. We're going to have Empress Sekhmet with us. Kevin Wesley is going to be with us. Okay, and we're going to be you're going to have an action-packed lecture. You know what I'm saying? That's just going to be crazy, and it's going to be $100 a person. And that's the PayPal there on the bottom if you want to get involved in that. It's going to be at the Grace Banquet Hall. This is going to be the time where you put on your best African apparel, your cultural gear, and you represent on the black carpet the way what Wakandas should be looking like. You know what I'm saying? That's how we're going to be doing it for the gala. So I hope to see you all you guys there. In the meantime, we still are raising money for Flint, Michigan, to do something about the water crisis that they got going on down there. Okay, these are the t-shirts that we are selling for those. Okay, these are for $35 or more. All the proceeds go to Flint, Michigan water crisis when we take our trip down there and do our lectures. Okay, we do got music in stores. If you want to get Ashe is still available in stores via iTunes, Tidal, Google Play, you know, all that good stuff, all the streaming services. So if you want to support some good music, you can go ahead and get that. Also, I don't know if you heard, but Sigi Potolo got an album too. That's that Panther Party. You're gonna want to cop one of those. You know what I'm saying? So let me introduce you to some conscious music. Also, Joey Badass, that album is still out there. It's crazy. Okay, he got a new one coming soon, but that one is still crazy. All American Badass is out there. All right, and your boy still has power bracelets. If you want to get you a power bracelet, the power bracelets for donations $50 or more to the Lighthouse PayPal, and we'll send you the Lighthouse meditation power bracelet to enhance your meditation experience. With that being said, family, also let me shout out my brother Nino. My brother Nino is getting our people in shape, man. You want to get in shape? Hit up brother Nino so he can get you that good nutritional plan for yourself and get you a nice workout plan going as well. You know what I'm saying? We got the Lighthouse Fitness group that's out there. So make sure y'all join in these Lighthouse groups. If you are in an area where there's people that aren't around you, woken people who do research, you know what I'm saying, and you're looking for like-minded individuals, then you want to get involved in the Lighthouse groups. Okay, there's one in the city near you. You just have to find it and figure out, what's the major city near you. If not, then you are the change that we are looking for. You are the change that you seek, and you are to be starting the group in your area so we could get it cracking. That's the whole point of this, is to link with one another and use the internet for its true purpose, its divine purpose. So with that being said, may the divine force in me greet the divine force in you. Do I. Ashe family, and peace. I love y'all.